The Tales of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Part 1. The Drawing of the Sword. Long, long ago, after Uther Pendragon died, no king reigned in Britain, and every knight hoped to seize the crown for himself. The country was like to fare ill when laws were broken on every side, and the corn which was to give bread to the poor was trodden underfoot, and there was none to bring the evildoer to justice. Then, when things were at their worst, came forth Merlin the magician, and fast he rode to the place where the Archbishop of Canterbury had his dwelling. They took counsel together, and agreed that all the lords and gentlemen of Britain should ride to London and meet on Christmas Day, now at hand, in the great church. So this was done, and on Christmas morning, as they left the church, they saw in the churchyard a large stone, and on it a bar of steel, and in the steel a naked sword was held, and about it was written in letters of gold, "Whoso pulleth out this sword is by right of birth King of England." They marvelled at these words, and called for the Archbishop, and brought him into the place where the stone stood. Then those knights who fain would be king took firm hold of the hilt, and they tugged at the sword with all their might, but it never stirred. The Archbishop watched them in silence, but when they were faint from pulling, he spoke. "The man is not here who shall lift out that sword, nor do I know where to find him. But this is my counsel, that 2 knights be chosen, good and true men, to keep guard over the sword." Thus it was done. But the lords and gentlemen at arms cried out that every man had a right to try to win the sword, and they decided that on New Year's Day a tournament should be held, and any knight who would might enter the lists. So, on New Year's Day, the knights, according to custom, went to hear service in the great church, and after it was over, they met in the field to make ready for the tourney. Among them was a brave knight called Sir Ector, who brought with him Sir Kay, his son, and Arthur, Kay's foster brother. Now, Kay had unbuckled his sword the evening before, and in his haste to be at the tourney, had forgotten to put it on again, and he begged Arthur to ride back and fetch it for him. But when Arthur reached the house, the door was locked, for the women had gone out to see the tourney, and, though Arthur tried his best to get in, he could not. Then he rode away in great anger, and said to himself, "Kay shall not be without a sword this day. I will take that sword in the churchyard and give it to him." And he galloped fast till he reached the gate of the churchyard. He jumped down, tied his horse tightly to a tree, and, running up to the sword, seized the handle and, lightly and fiercely, drew it out. Then he mounted his horse again and delivered the sword to Sir Kay. The moment Sir Kay saw the sword, he knew it was not his own, but the sword of the stone, and he sought out his father, Sir Ector, and said to him, "Sir, this is the sword of the stone. Therefore I am the rightful king." Sir Ector made no answer, but signed to Kay and Arthur to follow him, and they all 3 went back to the church. Leaving their horses outside, they entered the choir, and here Sir Ector took a holy book and bade Sir Kay swear how he came by that sword. "My brother Arthur gave it to me," replied Sir Kay. "How did you come by it?" asked Sir Ector, turning to Arthur. "Sir," said Arthur, "when I rode home for my brother's sword, I found no one to deliver it to me, and as I resolved he should not be swordless, I thought of the sword in the stone, and I pulled it out." "Were any knights present when you did this?" asked Sir Ector. "No, none," said Arthur. "Then you are the rightful king of this land," said Sir Ector. "But why am I the king?" inquired Arthur. "Because," answered Sir Ector, "this is an enchanted sword, and no man could draw it but he who was born a king. Therefore put the sword back into the stone, and let me see you take it out." "That is soon done," said Arthur, replacing the sword, and Sir Ector himself tried to draw it, but he could not. "Now it is your turn," he said to Sir Kay. But Sir Kay fared no better than his father, though he tugged with all his might and main. "Now you, Arthur." And Arthur pulled it out as easily as if it had been lying in its sheath, and as he did so, Sir Ector and Sir Kay sank on their knees before him. "Why do you, my father and brother, kneel to me?" asked Arthur in surprise. "Nay, nay, my lord," answered Sir Ector. "I am not your father, though till today I could not tell you who your father really was. You are the son of Uther Pendragon, and you were brought to me when you were born by Merlin himself, who promised that when the time came you should know from whom you sprang." When Arthur heard that Sir Ector was not his father, he wept bitterly. "If I am king," he said at last, "ask what you will, and I shall not fail you. For to you, and to my lady and mother, I owe more than to anyone in the world, for she loved me and treated me as her son." "Sir," replied Sir Ector, "I only ask that you will make your foster brother Sir Kay seneschal of all your lands." "That I will, readily," answered Arthur, "and while he and I live, no other shall fill that office." Sir Ector then bade them seek out the Archbishop with him, and they told him all that had happened concerning the sword, which Arthur had left standing in the stone. And on 12th day the knights and barons came again, but none could draw it out but Arthur. When they saw this, many of the barons became angry, and cried out that they would never own a boy for king whose blood was no better than their own. So it was agreed to wait till Candlemas, when more knights might be there, and meanwhile the same two men who had been chosen before watched the sword night and day. But at Candlemas it was the same thing, and at Easter. And when Pentecost came, the common people who were present and saw Arthur pull out the sword cried with one voice that he was their king, and they would kill any man who said differently. Then rich and poor fell on their knees before him, and Arthur took the sword and offered it upon the altar where the Archbishop stood, and the best man who was there made him knight. After that, the crown was put on his head, and he swore to his lords and commons that he would be a true king, and would do them justice all the days of his life. The Sword, Excalibur. King Arthur, accompanied by Merlin the magician, had left the comfort of the court to seek adventures. He had fought a hard battle with the tallest knight in all the land, and though he struck hard and well, he would have been slain had not Merlin enchanted the knight and cast him into a deep sleep, and brought the king to a hermit who had studied the art of healing and cured all his wounds in 3 days. Then Arthur and Merlin waited no longer, but gave the hermit thanks and departed. As they rode together, Arthur said, "I have no sword." But Merlin bade him be patient, and he would soon give him one. In a little while they came to a large lake, and in the midst of the lake Arthur beheld an arm rising out of the water, holding up a sword. "Look," said Merlin, "that is the sword I spoke of." And the king looked again, and a maiden stood upon the water. "That is the Lady of the Lake," said Merlin, "and she is coming to you, and if you ask her courteously, she will give you the sword." So when the maiden drew near, Arthur saluted her, and said, "Maiden, I pray you tell me whose sword is that, which an arm is holding out of the water? I wish it were mine, for I have lost my sword." "That sword is mine, King Arthur," answered she, "and I will give it to you, if you, in return, will give me a gift when I ask you." "By my faith," said the king, "I will give you whatever gift you ask." "Well," said the maiden, "get into the barge yonder, and row yourself to the sword, and take it and the scabbard with you." For this was the sword Excalibur. "As for my gift, I will ask it in my own time." Then King Arthur and Merlin dismounted from their horses, and tied them up safely, and went into the barge, and when they came to the place where the arm was holding the sword, Arthur took it by the handle, and the arm disappeared, and they brought the sword back to land. As they rode, the king looked lovingly on his sword, which Merlin saw, and, smiling, said, "Which do you like best, the sword or the scabbard?" "I like the sword," answered Arthur. "You are not wise to say that," replied Merlin, "for the scabbard is worth 10 of the sword, and as long as it is buckled on you, you will lose no blood, however sorely you may be wounded." So they rode into the town of Camelot, and Arthur's knights gave them a glad welcome, and said it was a joy to serve under a king who risked his life as much as any common man. How the Round Table began. After King Arthur had fought and conquered many enemies, he said one day to Merlin, whose counsel he took all the days of his life, "My barons will let me have no rest, but bid me take a wife, and I have answered them that I shall take none, except you advise me." "It is well," replied Merlin, "that you should take a wife. But is there any woman that you love better than another?" "Yes," said Arthur, "I love Guinevere, daughter of Leodegrance, king of Camelot, in whose house is the round table that my father gave him. This maiden is the fairest that I have ever seen, or ever shall see." "Sir," answered Merlin, "what you say as to her beauty is true, but if your heart was not set on her, I could find you another as fair, and of more goodness than she. But if a man's heart is once set, it is idle to try to turn him." Then Merlin asked the king to give him a company of knights and esquires, that he might go to the court of King Leodegrance, and tell him that King Arthur desired to wed his daughter, which Arthur did gladly. Therefore Merlin rode forth, and made all the haste he could, till he came to the castle of Camelot, and told King Leodegrance who had sent him, and why. "That is the best news I have ever had," replied Leodegrance, "for little did I think that so great and noble a king should seek to marry my daughter. As for lands to endow her with, I would give whatever he chose, but he has lands enough of his own, so I will give him instead something that will please him much more, the round table which Uther Pendragon gave me, where 150 knights can sit at one time. I myself can call to my side 100 good knights, but I lack 50, for the wars have slain many, and some are absent." And without more words, King Leodegrance gave his consent that his daughter should wed King Arthur, and Merlin returned with his knights and esquires, journeying partly by water and partly by land, till they drew near to London. When King Arthur heard of the coming of Merlin and of the knights with the Round Table, he was filled with joy, and said to those that stood about him, "This news that Merlin has brought me is welcome indeed, for I have long loved this fair lady, and the Round Table is dearer to me than great riches." Then he ordered that Sir Lancelot should ride to fetch the Queen, and that preparations for the marriage and her coronation should be made, which was done. "Now, Merlin," said the king, "go and look about my kingdom, and bring 50 of the bravest and most famous knights that can be found throughout the land." But no more than 28 knights could Merlin find. With these Arthur had to be content, and the Bishop of Canterbury was fetched, and he blessed the seats that were placed by the Round Table, and the knights sat in them. "Fair sirs," said Merlin, when the bishop had ended his blessing, "arise, all of you, and pay your homage to the king." So the knights arose to do his bidding, and in every seat was the name of the knight who had sat on it, written in letters of gold. But 2 seats were empty. After that, young Gawain came to the king, and prayed him to make him a knight on the day that he should wed Guinevere. "That I will gladly," replied the king, "for you are my sister's son." As the king was speaking, a poor man entered the court, bringing with him a youth about 18 years old, riding on a lean mare, though it was not the custom for gentlemen to ride on mares. "Where is King Arthur?" asked the man. "Yonder," answered the knights. "Have you business with him?" "Yes," said the man, and he went and bowed low before the king. "I have heard, O King Arthur, flower of knights and kings, that at the time of your marriage you would give any man the gift he should ask for." "That is truth," answered the king, "as long as I do no wrong to other men or to my kingdom." "I thank you for your gracious words," said the poor man. "The boon I would ask is that you would make my son a knight." "It is a great boon to ask," answered the king. "What is your name?" "Sir, my name is Ares, the cowherd." "Is it you or your son that has thought of this honour?" "It is my son who desires it, and not I," replied the man. "I have 13 sons who tend cattle and work in the fields if I bid them, but this boy will do nothing but shoot and cast darts, or go to watch battles and look on knights, and all day long he beseeches me to bring him to you, that he may be knighted also." "What is your name?" said Arthur, turning to the young man. "Sir, my name is Tor." "Where is your sword, that I may knight you?" said the king. "It is here, my lord." "Take it out of its sheath," said the king, "and require me to make you a knight." Then Tor jumped off his mare and pulled out his sword, and knelt before the king, praying that he might be made a knight, and a knight of the Round Table. "As for a knight, that I will make you," said Arthur, smiting him in the neck with the sword. "And if you are worthy of it, you shall be a knight of the Round Table." Then was the high feast made ready, and the king was wedded to fair Guinevere at Camelot, in the church of St. Stephen, with all due observance. And the next day Gawain was made a knight also. Sir Tor proved before long by his gallant deeds that he was well worthy to sit in one of the empty seats at the Round Table. The story of Sir Balin. In those days, many kings reigned in the islands of the sea, and they constantly waged war upon each other and on their liege lord. And news came to Arthur that Ryans, king of North Wales, had collected a large host and had ravaged his lands and slain some of his people. When he heard this, Arthur rose in anger and commanded that all lords, knights, and gentlemen of arms should meet him at Camelot, where he would call a council and hold a tourney. From every part the knights flocked to Camelot, and the town was full to overflowing of armed men and their horses. And when they were all assembled, there rode in a damsel, who said she had come with a message from the great Lady Lyle of Avalon, and begged that they would bring her before King Arthur. When she was led into his presence, she let her mantle of fur slip off her shoulders, and they saw that by her side a richly wrought sword was buckled. The king was silent with wonder at the strange sight, but at last he said, "Damsel, why do you wear this sword? For swords are not the ornaments of women." "Oh, my lord," answered she, "I would I could find some knight to rid me of this sword, which weighs me down and causes me much sorrow. But the man who will deliver me of it must be one who is mighty of his hands and pure in his deeds, without villainy or treason. If I find a knight such as this, he will draw this sword out of its sheath, and he only. For I have been at the court of King Ryons, and he and his knights tried with all their strength to draw the sword, and they could not." "Let me see if I can draw it," said Arthur. "Not because I think myself the best knight, for well I know how far I am outdone by others, but to set them an example that they may follow me." With that, the king took the sword by the sheath and by the girdle, and pulled at it with all his force, but the sword stuck fast. "Sir," said the damsel, "you need not pull half so hard, for he that shall pull it out shall do it with little strength." "It is not for me," answered Arthur. "And now, my barons, let each man try his fortune." So most of the knights of the Round Table there present pulled, one after another, at the sword, but none could stir it from its sheath. "Alas! Alas!" cried the damsel in great grief. "I thought to find in this court knights that were blameless and true of heart, and now I know not where to look for them." "By my faith," said Arthur, "there are no better knights in the world than these of mine, but I am sorely displeased that they cannot help me in this matter." Now, at that time, there was a poor knight at Arthur's court who had been kept prisoner for 1.5 years because he had slain the king's cousin. He was of high birth, and his name was Balin. And after he had suffered 18 months the punishment of his misdeed, the barons prayed the king to set him free, which Arthur did willingly. When Balin, standing apart, beheld the knights one by one try the sword and fail to draw it, his heart beat fast. Yet he shrank from taking his turn, for he was meanly dressed, and could not compare with the other barons. But after the damsel had bid farewell to Arthur and his court, and was setting out on her journey homewards, he called to her and said, "Damsel, I pray you to suffer me to try your sword, as well as these lords, for though I am so poorly clothed, my heart is as high as theirs." The damsel stopped and looked at him, and answered, "Sir, it is not needful to put you to such trouble, for where so many have failed, it is hardly likely that you will succeed." "Ah, fair damsel," said Balin, "it is not fine clothes that make good deeds." "You speak truly," replied the damsel. "Therefore, do what you can." Then Balin took the sword by the girdle and sheath, and pulled it out easily. And when he looked at the sword, he was greatly pleased with it. The king and the knights were dumb with surprise that it was Balin who had triumphed over them, and many of them envied him and felt anger towards him. "In truth," said the damsel, "This is the best knight that I ever found. But, sir, I pray you give me the sword again."
"No," answered Balin. "I will keep it till it is taken from me by force."
"It is for your sake, not mine, that I ask for it," said the damsel. "For with that sword you shall slay the man you love best, and it will bring about your own ruin."
"I will take what befalls me," replied Balin, "but the sword I will not give up by the faith of my body."
So the damsel departed in great sorrow. The next day Sir Balin left the court, and, armed with his sword, set forth in search of adventures, which he found in many places where he had not thought to meet with them. In all the fights that he fought, Sir Balin was the victor, and Arthur and Merlin, his friend, knew that there was no knight living of greater deeds or more worthy of worship, and he was known to all as Sir Balin the Savage, the Knight of the Two Swords. One day he was riding forth, when at the turn of a road he saw a cross, and on it was written in letters of gold, "Let no knight ride towards this castle." Sir Balin was still reading the writing when there came towards him an old man with white hair, who said,
"Sir Balin the Savage, this is not the way for you, so turn again and choose some other path."
And so he vanished, and a horn blew loudly, as a horn is blown at the death of a beast.
"That blast," said Balin, "is for me, but I am still alive."
And he rode to the castle, where a great company of knights and ladies met him and welcomed him, and made him a feast. Then the lady of the castle said to him, "Knight with the two swords, you must now fight a knight that guards an island, for it is our law that no man may leave us without he first fight a tourney."
"That is bad custom," said Balin. "But if I must, I am ready, for though my horse is weary, my heart is strong."
"Sir," said a knight to him, "your shield does not look whole to me. I will lend you another." So Balin listened to him, and took the shield that was offered, and left his own with his own coat of arms behind him. He rode down to the shore, and led his horse into a boat which took them across. When he reached the other side, a damsel came to him, crying, "O knight Balin, why have you left your own shield behind you? Alas! You have put yourself in great danger, for by your shield you should have been known. I grieve over your doom, for there is no man living that can rival you for courage and bold deeds."
"I repent," answered Balin, "ever having come into this country, but for very shame I must go on. Whatever befalls me, either for life or death, I am ready to take it."
Then he examined his armour, and saw that it was whole, and mounted his horse. As he went along the path, he beheld a knight come out of the castle in front, clothed in red, riding a horse with red trappings. When this red knight looked on the two swords, he thought for a moment it was Balin. But the shield did not bear Balin's device. So they rode at each other with their spears, and smote each other's shield so hard that both horses and men fell to the ground with the shock, and the knights lay unconscious on the ground for some minutes. But soon they rose up again, and began the fight afresh, and they fought till the place was red with their blood, and they had each 7 great wounds.
"What knight are you?"
asked Balin the Savage, pausing for breath.
"For never before have I found any knight to match me."
"My name," said he,
"is Balin, brother to the good knight Balin."
"Alas," cried Balin,
"that I should ever live to see this day."
And he fell back, fainting to the ground. At this sight, Balin crept on his feet and hands and pulled off Balin's helmet so that he might see his face. The fresh air revived Balin, and he awoke and said, "O Balin, my brother, you have slain me, and I you, and the whole world will speak ill of us both." "Alas," sighed Balin, "if I had only known you. I saw your 2 swords, but from your shield I thought you had been another knight." "Woe is me," said Balin. "All this was wrought by an unhappy knight in the castle, who caused me to change my shield for his. If I lived, I would destroy that castle, that he should not deceive other men." "You would have done well," answered Balin, "for they have kept me prisoner ever since I slew a knight that guarded this island, and they would have kept you captive too." Then came the lady of the castle and her companions, and listened as they made their moan. And Balin prayed that she would grant them the grace to lie together, there where they died. And their wish was given them, and she and those that were with her wept for pity. So they died, and the lady made a tomb for them, and put Balin's name alone on it, for Balin's name she knew not. But Merlin knew, and next morning he came and wrote it in letters of gold, and he ungirdled Balin's sword, and unscrewed the pommel, and put another pommel on it, and bade a knight that stood by handle it. But the knight could not. At that, Merlin laughed. "Why do you laugh?" asked the knight. "Because," said Merlin, "no man shall handle this sword but the best knight in the world, and that is either Sir Lancelot or his son Sir Galahad. With this sword Sir Lancelot shall slay the man he loves best, and his name is Sir Gawain." And this was later done in a fight across the seas. All this Merlin wrote on the pommel of the sword. Next he made a bridge of steel to the island 6 inches broad, and no man could pass over it that was guilty of any evil deeds. The scabbard of the sword he left on this side of the island, so that Galahad should find it. The sword itself he put in a magic stone, which floated down the stream to Camelot, that is now called Winchester. And the same day Galahad came to the river, having in his hand the scabbard, and he saw the sword, and pulled it out of the stone, as is told in another place. What Beaumain asked of the king. As Pentecost drew near, King Arthur commanded that all the knights of the Round Table should keep the feast at a city called Kinkenadon, hard by the sands of Wales, where there was a great castle. Now it was the king's custom that he would eat no food on the day of Pentecost, which we call Whit Sunday, until he had heard or seen some great marvel. So on that morning Sir Gawain was looking from the window a little before noon, when he espied 3 men on horseback, and with them a dwarf on foot, who held their horses when they alighted. Then Sir Gawain went to the king and said, "Sir, go to your food, for strange adventures are at hand." And Arthur called the other kings that were in the castle, and all the knights of the Round Table that were 150, and they sat down to dine. When they were seated, there entered the hall 2 men, well and richly dressed, and upon their shoulders leaned the handsomest young man that ever was seen of any of them, higher than the other 2 by a cubit. He was wide in the chest and large-handed, but his great height seemed to be a burden and a shame to him. Therefore it was he leaned on the shoulders of his friends. As soon as Arthur beheld them, he made a sign, and without more words, all 3 went up to the high dais where the king sat. Then the tall young man stood up straight and said, "King Arthur,
God bless you and all your fair fellowship, and in especial the fellowship of the Table Round. I have come hither to pray you to give me 3 gifts, which you can grant me honourably, for they will do no hurt to you or to anyone." "Ask," answered Arthur, "and you shall have your asking." "Sir, this is my petition for this feast. For the other 2 I will ask after. Give me meat and drink for this 1 12-month. "Well," said the king, "you shall have meat and drink enough, for that I give to every man, whether friend or foe. But tell me your name." "I cannot tell you that," answered he. "That is strange," replied the king, "but you are the goodliest young man I ever saw." And turning to Sir Kay, the steward, charged him to give the young man to eat and drink of the best, and to treat him in all ways as if he were a lord's son. "There is little need to do that," answered Sir Kay, "for if he had come of gentlemen and not of peasants, he would have asked you of a horse and armour. But as the birth of a man is, so are his requests. And seeing he has no name, I will give him one, and it shall be Beau-mains, or fair hands, and he shall sit in the kitchen and eat broth, and at the end of a year he shall be as fat as any pig that feeds on acorns." So the young man was left in charge of Sir Kay, that scorned and mocked him. Sir Launcelot and Sir Gawain were wroth when they heard what Sir Kay said, and bade him leave off his mocking, for they believed the youth would turn out to be a man of great deeds. But Sir Kay paid no heed to them, and took him down to the great hall, and set him among the boys and lads, where he ate sadly. After he had finished eating, both Sir Launcelot and Sir Gawain bade him come to their room, and would have had him eat and drink there. But he refused, saying he was bound to obey Sir Kay, into whose charge the king had given him. So he was put into the kitchen by Sir Kay, and slept nightly with the kitchen boys. This he bore for a whole year, and was always mild and gentle, and gave hard words to no one. Only whenever the knights played at tourney, he would steal out and watch them. And Sir Launcelot gave him gold to spend and clothes to wear, and so did Gawain. Also, if there were any games held whereat he might be, none could throw a bar nor cast a stone as far as he, by 2 good yards. Thus the year passed by, till the feast of Whitsuntide came again, and this time the king held it at Camelot. But King Arthur would eat no meat at Whitsuntide till some adventures were told him, and glad he was when a squire came and said to him, "Sir, you may go to your food, for here is a damsel with some strange tales." At this, the damsel was led into the hall, and bowed low before the king, and begged he would give her help. "For whom?" asked the king. "And what is the adventure?" "Sir," answered she, "my sister is a noble lady of great fame, who is besieged by a tyrant, and may not get out of her castle. And it is because your knights are said to be the noblest in all the world that I came to you for aid." "What is your sister's name, and where does she dwell? And who is the man that besieges her, and where does he come from?" "Sir King," answered she, "as for my sister's name, I cannot tell it you now, but she is a lady of great beauty and goodness, and of many lands. As for the tyrant who besieges her, he is called the Red Knight of the Red Lawns." "I know nothing of him," said the king. "But I know him," cried Sir Gawain, "and he is one of the most dangerous knights in the world. Men say he has the strength of 7, and once, when we had crossed swords, I hardly escaped from him with my life." "Fair damsel," then said the king, "there are many knights here who would go gladly to the rescue of your lady, but none of them shall do so with my consent,
unless you will tell us her name and the place of her castle." "Then I must speak further," said the damsel. But before she had made answer to the king, up came Beaumains, and spoke to Arthur, saying, "Sir King, I thank you that for this whole year I have lived in your kitchen, and had meat and drink, and now I will ask you for the 2 gifts that you promised me on this day." "Ask them," answered the king. "Sir, these shall be my 2 gifts. First, grant me the adventure of this damsel, for it is mine by right." "You shall have it," said the king. "Then, sir, you shall bid Sir Lancelot du Lac to make me knight, for I will receive knighthood at the hands of no other." "All this shall be done," said the king. "Fie on you," cried the damsel. "Will you give me none but a kitchen boy to rescue my lady?" And she went away in a rage, and mounted her horse. No sooner had she left the hall than a page came to Beaumains, and told him that a horse and fair armour had been brought for him. Also there had arrived a dwarf, carrying all things that a knight needed. And when he was armed, there were few men that were handsomer than he. And the court wondered greatly whence these splendid trappings had come. Then Beaumains came into the hall, and took farewell of the king, and Sir Gawain, and Sir Lancelot, and prayed Sir Lancelot that he would follow after him. So he departed, and rode after the damsel. Many looked upon him, and marvelled at the strength of his horse and its golden trappings, and envied Beaumains his shining coat of mail. But they noted that he had neither shield nor spear. "I will ride after him," laughed Sir Kay, "and see if my kitchen boy will own me for his better." "Leave him, and stay at home," said Sir Gawain and Sir Lancelot, but Sir Kay would not listen, and sprang upon his horse. Just as Beaumains came up with the damsel, Sir Kay reached Beaumains, and said, "Beaumains, do you not know me?" Beaumains turned and looked at him, and answered, "Yes, I know you for an ill-mannered knight, therefore beware of me." At this, Sir Kay put his spear in rest, and charged him. And Beaumains drew his sword, and charged Sir Kay, and dashed aside the spear, and thrust him through the side, till Sir Kay fell down, as if he had been dead, and Beaumains took his shield and spear for himself. Then he sprang on his own horse, bidding first his dwarf take Sir Kay's horse, and rode away. All this was seen by Sir Lancelot, who had followed him, and also by the damsel. In a little while Beaumains stopped, and asked Sir Lancelot if he would tilt with him, and they came together with such a shock that both the horses and their riders fell to the earth, and were bruised sorely. Sir Lancelot was the first to rise, and he helped Beaumains from his horse. And Beaumains threw his shield from him, and offered to fight on foot. And they rushed together like wild boars, turning and thrusting and parrying for the space of an hour. And Sir Lancelot marvelled at the young man's strength, and thought he was more like a giant than a knight. And dreading lest he himself should be put to shame, he said, "Beaumains, do not fight so hard. We have no quarrel that forbids us to leave off." "That is true," answered Beaumains, laying down his arms. "But it does me good, my lord, to feel your might." "Well," said Sir Lancelot, "I promise you I had much ado to save myself from you unshamed. Therefore, have no fear of any other knight." "Do you think I could really stand against a proved knight?" asked Beaumains. "Yes," said Lancelot. "If you fight as you have fought today, I will be your warrant against anyone." "Then I pray you," cried Beaumains, "give me the order of knighthood." "You must first tell me your name," replied Lancelot, "and who are your kindred?"
You will not betray me if I do?" asked Beaumain. "No, that I will never do, till it is openly known," said Lancelot. "Then, sir, my name is Gareth, and Sir Gawain is my brother." "Ah, sir," cried Lancelot, "I am more pleased with you than ever. I was sure you came of good blood, and that you did not come to the court for meat and drink only." And he bade him kneel, and gave him the order of knighthood. After that, Sir Gareth wished to go his own ways, and departed. When he was gone, Sir Lancelot went back to Sir Kay, and ordered some men that were by to bear him home on a shield, and in time his wounds were healed. But he was scorned of all men, and especially of Sir Gawain and Sir Lancelot, who told him it was no good deed to treat any young man so, and no one could tell what his birth might be, or what had brought him to the court. Then Beaumain rode after the damsel, who stopped when she saw him coming. "What are you doing here?" said she. "Your clothes smell of the grease and tallow of the kitchen. Do you think to change my heart towards you because of yonder knight whom you slew? No, truly. I know well who you are, you turner of spits. Go back to King Arthur's kitchen, which is your proper place." "Damsel," replied Beaumain, "you may say to me what you will, but I shall not quit you, whatever you may do, for I have vowed to King Arthur to relieve the lady in the castle, and I shall set her free, or die fighting for her." "Fie on you, scullion," answered she. "You will meet with one who will make you such a welcome that you would give all the broth you ever cooked never to have seen his face." "I shall do my best to fight him," said Beaumain, and held his peace. Soon they entered the wood, and there came a man flying towards them, galloping with all his might. "Oh, help! Help, Lord!" cried he. "For my master lies in a thicket, bound by 6 thieves, and I greatly fear they will slay him." "Show me the way," said Sir Beaumain, and they rode together till they reached the place where the knight lay bound. Then Sir Beaumain charged the 6 thieves, and struck one dead, and another still, and the other 3 fled, not liking the battle. Sir Beaumain pursued them till they turned at bay and fought hard for their lives. But in the end Sir Beaumain slew them, and returned to the knight and unbound him. The knight thanked Beaumain heartily for his deliverance, and prayed him to come to his castle, where he would reward him. "Sir," said Beaumain, "I was this day made knight by noble Sir Lancelot, and that is reward enough for anything I may do. Besides, I must follow this damsel." But when he came near her, she reviled him as before, and bade him ride far from her. "Do you think I set store by what you have done? You will soon see a sight that will make you tell a very different tale." At this, the knight, whom Beaumain had rescued, rode up to the damsel, and begged that she would rest in his castle that night, as the sun was now setting. The damsel agreed, and the knight ordered a great supper, and gave Sir Beaumain a seat above the seat of the damsel, who rose up in anger. "Fie, fie, Sir Knight," cried she. "You are uncourteous to set a mere kitchen page before me. He is not fit to be in the company of high-born people." Her words struck shame into the knight, and he took Beaumain and set him at a side table, and seated himself before him. In the early morning, Sir Beaumain and the damsel bade farewell to the knight, and rode through the forest till they came to a great river, where stood 2 knights on the further side, guarding the passage. "Well, what do you say now?" asked the damsel. "Will you fight them or turn back?" "I would not turn if there were 6 more of them," answered Sir Beaumain, and he rushed into the water, and so did one of the knights.
They came together in the middle of the stream, and their spears broke in two with the force of the charge, and they drew their swords, hitting hard at each other. At length, Sir Beaumains dealt the other knight such a blow that he fell from his horse and was drowned in the river. Then Beaumains put his horse at the bank, where the second knight was waiting for him, and they fought long together, till Sir Beaumains clave his helmet in two. So he left him, dead, and rode after the damsel. "Alas," she cried, "that even a kitchen page should have power to destroy two such knights. You think you have done mighty things, but you are wrong. As to the first knight, his horse stumbled, and he was drowned before you ever touched him. And the other you took from behind, and struck him when he was defenceless."
"Damsel," answered Beaumains, "you may say what you will, I care not what it is, so I may deliver this lady."
"Fie, foul kitchen knave, you shall see knights that will make you lower your crest."
"I pray you be more civil in your language," answered Beaumains, "for it matters not to me what knights they may be. I will do battle with them."
"I am trying to turn you back for your own good," answered she. "For if you follow me, you are certainly a dead man. As well I know all you have won before has been by luck."
"Say what you will, damsel," said he, "but where you go, I will follow you."
And they rode together till eventide, and all the way she chid him and gave him no rest. At length they reached an open space where there was a black lawn, and on the lawn a black hawthorn, whereon hung a black banner on one side, and a black shield and spear, big and long, on the other. Close by stood a black horse covered with silk, fastened to a black stone. A knight, covered with black armour, sat on the horse, and when she saw him, the damsel bade him ride away, as his horse was not saddled. But the knight drew near, and said to her, "Damsel, have you brought this knight from King Arthur's court to be your champion?" "No, truly," answered she. "This is but a kitchen boy, fed by King Arthur for charity." "Then why is he clad in armour?" asked the knight. "It is a shame that he should even bear you company." "I cannot be rid of him," said she. "He rides with me against my will. I would that you were able to deliver me from him. Either slay him or frighten him off, for by ill fortune he has this day slain the two knights of the passage."
"I wonder much," said the Black Knight, "that any man who is well born should consent to fight with him."
"They do not know him," replied the damsel, "and they think he must be a famous knight because he rides with me."
"That may be," said the Black Knight, "but he is well made, and looks likely to be a strong man. Still, I promise you, I will just throw him to the ground and take away his horse and armour, for it would be a shame to me to do more."
When Sir Beaumains heard him talk thus, he looked up and said,
"Sir Knight, you are lightly disposing of my horse and armour, but I would have you know that I will pass this lawn against your will or not, and you will only get my horse and armour if you win them in fair fight. Therefore, let me see what you can do." "Say you so?" answered the knight. "Now, give up the lady at once, for it ill becomes a kitchen page to ride with a lady of high degree." "It is a lie," said Beaumains. "I am a gentleman born, and my birth is better than yours, as I will prove upon your body." With that, they drew back their horses so as to charge each other hotly, and for the space of an hour and a half they fought fiercely and well. But in the end, a blow from Beaumains threw the knight from his horse, and he swooned and died. Then Beaumains jumped down, and seeing that the knight's horse and armour were better than his own, he took them for himself and rode after the damsel. While they were thus riding together,
and the damsel was chiding him as ever she did, they saw a knight coming towards them, dressed all in green.
"Is that my brother, the Black Knight, who is with you?"
asked he of the damsel. "No, indeed," she replied. "This unhappy kitchen knave has slain your brother, to my great sorrow."
"Alas," sighed the Green Knight, "that my brother should die so meanly at the hand of a kitchen knave. Traitor," he added, turning to Beaumain, "thou shalt die for slaying my brother, for he was a noble knight, and his name was Sir Persard." "I defy you," said Beaumain, "for I slew him as a good knight should."
Then the Green Knight seized a horn which hung from a thorn tree, and blew 3 notes upon it, and 2 damsels came and armed him, and fastened on him a green shield and a green spear. So the fight began, and raged long, first on horseback and then on foot, till both were sore wounded. At last the damsel came and stood beside them, and said, "My lord the Green Knight, why for very shame do you stand so long fighting a kitchen knave? You ought never to have been made a knight at all." These scornful words stung the heart of the Green Knight, and he dealt a mighty stroke which cleft asunder the shield of Beaumain. And when Beaumain saw this, he struck a blow upon the knight's helmet, which brought him to his knees, and Beaumain leapt on him and dragged him to the ground. Then the Green Knight cried for mercy, and offered to yield himself prisoner unto Beaumain.
"It is all in vain," answered Beaumain, "unless the damsel praise me for your life."
And therewith he unlaced his helmet, as though he would slay him. "Fie upon thee, false kitchen page," said the damsel. "I will never pray to save his life, for I am sure he is in no danger."
"Suffer me not to die," entreated the knight, "when a word may save me. Fair knight," he went on, turning to Beaumain, "save my life, and I will forgive you the death of my brother, and will do you service for ever, and will bring 30 of my knights to serve you likewise."
"It is a shame," cried the damsel, "that such a kitchen knave should have you, and 30 knights besides."
"Sir Knight," said Beaumain, "I care nothing for all this, but if I am to spare your life, the damsel must ask for it."
And he stepped forward as if to slay him. "Let be, foul knave," then said the damsel. "Do not slay him. If you do, you will repent it."
"Damsel," answered Beaumain, "it is a pleasure to me to obey you, and at your wish I will save his life. Sir Knight with the green arms, I release you at the request of this damsel, and I will fulfill all she charges me."
Then the Green Knight kneeled down and did him homage with his sword. "I am sorry," said the damsel, "for the wounds you have received, and for your brother's death, for I had great need of you both, and have much dread of passing the forest."
"Fear nothing," answered the Green Knight, "for this evening you shall lodge in my house, and tomorrow I will show you the way through the forest."
And they went with the Green Knight. But the damsel did not mend her ways with Beaumain, and evermore reviled him, till the Green Knight rebuked her, saying Beaumain was the noblest knight that held a spear, and that in the end she would find he had sprung from some great king. And the Green Knight summoned the 30 knights who did him service, and bade them henceforth do service to Beaumain, and guard him from treachery, and when he had need of them, they would be ready to obey his orders. So they bade each other farewell, and Beaumain and the damsel rode forth anew. In like manner did Sir Beaumain overcome the Red Knight, who was the 3rd brother, and the Red Knight cried for mercy, and offered to bring 60 knights to do him service, and Beaumain spared his life at the request of the damsel. And likewise it so happened to Sir Persant of Ind. And this time the damsel prayed Beaumains to give up the fight, saying, "Sir, I wonder who you are, and of what kindred you have come. Boldly you speak, and boldly you have done. Therefore I pray you to depart and save yourself while you may, for both you and your horse have suffered great fatigues, and I fear we delay too long, for the besieged castle is but 7 miles from this place, and all the perils are past, save this one only. I dread sorely lest you should get some hurt. Yet this Sir Persant of Ind is nothing in might to the knight who has laid siege to my lady." But Sir Beaumains would not listen to her words, and vowed that by 2 hours after noon he would have overthrown him, and that it would still be daylight when they reached the castle. "What sort of a man can you be?" answered the damsel, looking at him in wonder. "For never did a woman treat a knight as ill and shamefully as I have done you, while you have always been gentle and courteous to me, and no one bears himself like that, save he who is of noble blood."
"Damsel," replied Beaumains, "your hard words only drove me to strike the harder, and though I ate in King Arthur's kitchen, perhaps I might have had as much food as I wanted elsewhere. But all I have done was to make proof of my friends, and whether I am a gentleman or not, fair damsel, I have done you gentleman's service, and may perchance do you greater service before we part from each other."
"Alas, fair Beaumains, forgive me all that I have said and done against you."
"With all my heart," he answered, "and since you are pleased now to speak good words to me, know that I hear them gladly, and there is no knight living but I feel strong enough to meet him."
So Beaumains conquered Sir Persant of Ind, who brought 100 knights to be sworn into his service, and the next morning the damsel led him to the castle, where the Red Knight of the Red Lawn held fast the lady. "Heaven defend you!" cried Sir Persant, when they told him where they were going. "That is the most perilous knight now living, for he has the strength of 7 men. He has done great wrong to that lady, who is one of the fairest in all the world, and it seems to me that this damsel must be her sister. Is not her name Lynette?" "Yes, sir," answered she, "and my lady, my sister's name, is Dame Lyonesse." "The Red Knight has drawn out the siege for 2 years," said Sir Persant, "though he might have forced an entrance many a time, but he hoped that Sir Launcelot du Lac, or Sir Tristram, or Sir Gawain should come to do battle with him." "My lord Sir Persant of Ind," said the damsel, "I bid you knight this gentleman before he fight with the Red Knight." "That I will gladly," replied Sir Persant, "if it please him to take the order of knighthood from so simple a man as I am." "Sir," answered Beaumains, "I thank you for your good will, but at the beginning of this quest I was made a knight by Sir Launcelot. My name is Sir Gareth of Orkney, and Sir Gawain is my brother, though neither he nor King Arthur, whose sister is my mother, knows of it. I pray you to keep it close also." Now word was brought unto the besieged lady by the dwarf that her sister was coming to her with a knight sent by King Arthur. And when the lady heard all that Beaumains had done, and how he had overthrown all who had stood in his way, she bade her dwarf take baked venison and fat capons, and 2 silver flagons of wine, and a gold cup, and put them into the hands of a hermit that dwelt in a hermitage close by. The dwarf did so, and the lady then sent him to greet her sister and Sir Beaumains, and to beg them to eat and drink in the hermit's cell, and rest themselves, which they did. When they drew near the besieged castle, Sir Beaumains saw full 40 knights, with spurs on their heels and swords in their hands, hanging from the tall trees that stood upon the lawn. "Fair sir," said the damsel, These knights came hither to rescue my sister, Dame Lyonesse, and if you cannot overthrow the Knight of the Red Lawn, you will hang there too."
"Truly," answered Beaumain, "it is a marvel that none of King Arthur's knights has dealt with the Knight of the Red Lawn ere this."
And they rode up to the castle, which had round it high walls and deep ditches, till they came to a great sycamore tree, where hung a horn. And whoso desired to do battle with the Red Knight must blow that horn loudly. "Sir, I pray you," said Lynette, as Beaumain bent forward to seize it, "do not blow it till it is full noontide, for during 3 hours before that, the Red Knight's strength so increases that it is as the strength of 7 men. But when noon is come, he has the might of 1 man only."
"Ah, for shame, damsel, to say such words. I will fight him as he is, or not at all."
And Beaumain blew such a blast that it rang through the castle, and the Red Knight buckled on his armour and came to where Beaumain stood. So the battle began, and a fierce one it was, and much ado had Beaumain to last out till noon, when the Red Knight's strength began to wane. They rested and came on again, and in the end the Red Knight yielded to Sir Beaumain, and the lords and barons in the castle did homage to the victor, and begged that the Red Knight's life might be spared, on condition they all took service with Beaumain. This was granted to them, and Lynette bound up his wounds and put ointment on them, and so she did likewise to Sir Beaumain. But the Red Knight was sent to the court of King Arthur, and told him all that Sir Beaumain had done. And King Arthur and his knights marvelled. Now Sir Beaumain had looked up at the windows of Castle Perilous before the fight, and had seen the face of the Lady Lyonesse, and had thought it the fairest in all the world. After he had subdued the Red Knight, he hasted into the castle, and the Lady Lyonesse welcomed him, and he told her he had bought her love with the best blood in his body. And she did not say him nay, but put him off for a time. Then the king sent letters to her, to bid her, and likewise Sir Gareth, come to his court. And by the counsel of Sir Gareth, she prayed the king to let her call a tournament, and to proclaim that the knight who bore himself best should, if he was unwedded, take her and all her lands. But if he had a wife already, he should be given a white falcon, and for his wife a crown of gold, set about with precious stones. So the Lady Lyonesse did as Sir Gareth had counselled her, and answered King Arthur that where Sir Gareth was, she could not tell, but that if the king would call a tourney, he might be sure that Sir Gareth would come to it. "It is well thought of," said Arthur. And the Lady Lyonesse departed unto Castle Perilous, and summoned all her knights around her, and told them what she had done, and how they were to make ready to fight in the tournament. She began at once to set her castle in order, and to think what she should do with the great array of knights that would ride hither from the furthest parts, from Scotland and Wales and Cornwall, and to lodge fitly the kings, dukes, earls and barons that should come with Arthur. Queen Guinevere also she awaited, and the Queen of Orkney, Sir Gareth's mother. But Sir Gareth entreated the Lady Lyonesse and those knights that were in the castle with him not to let his name be known, and this they agreed to. "Sir Gareth," said Dame Lyonesse, "I will lend you a ring, which I beseech you for the love you bear me, to give me back when the tournament is done, for without it I have but little beauty. This ring is like no other ring. It will turn green, red, and blue, white, and the bearer shall lose no blood, however sore he may be wounded."
"Truly, my own lady," answered Sir Gareth, "this ring will serve me well, and by its help I shall not fear that any man shall know me."
And Sir Gringamore, brother to the Lady Lyonesse, gave him a bay horse and strong armour, and a sharp sword that had once belonged to his father. On the morning of the 15th of August, when the Feast of the Assumption was kept, the king commanded his heralds to blow loudly their trumpets so that every knight might know that he must enter the lists. It was a noble sight to see them flocking, clad in shining armour, each man with his device upon his shield. And the heralds marked who bare them best, and who were overthrown. All marvelled as to who the knight could be whose armour sometimes seemed green and sometimes white. But no man knew it was Sir Gareth, and whosoever Sir Gareth tilted with was straightway overthrown. "Of a truth," cried King Arthur, "that knight with the many colours is a good knight." And he called Sir Lancelot and bade him to challenge that knight to combat. But Sir Lancelot said that though the knight had come off victor in every fight, yet his limbs must be weary, for he had fought as a man fights under the eyes of his lady. "And for this day," said Sir Lancelot, "he shall have the honour. Though it lay in my power to put it from him, I would not." Then they paused for a while to rest, and afterwards the tournament began again more fiercely than before, and Sir Lancelot was set upon by two knights at once. When Sir Gareth saw that, he rode in between them, but no stroke would he deal Sir Lancelot, which Sir Lancelot noted, and guessed that it was the good knight Sir Gareth. Sir Gareth went hither and thither, smiting anyone that came in his way, and by fortune he met with his brother Sir Gawain, and knocked off his helmet. Now it happened that while he was fighting, a knight dealt Sir Gareth a fierce blow on his helm, and he rode off the field to mend it. Then his dwarf, who had been watching eagerly, cried out to Sir Gareth to leave the ring with him, lest he should lose it while he was drinking, which Sir Gareth did. And when he had drunk and mended his helm, he forgot the ring, at which the dwarf was glad, for he knew his name could no longer be hid. And when Sir Gareth returned to the field, his armour shone yellow like gold, and King Arthur marvelled what knight he was, for he saw by his hair that he was the same knight who had worn the many colours. "Go," he said to his heralds, "ride near him, and see what manner of knight he is, for none can tell me his name." So a herald drew close to him, and saw that on his helm was written in golden letters, "This helm belongs to Sir Gareth of Orkney." And the herald cried out and made proclamation, and the kings and knights pressed to behold him. And when Sir Gareth saw he was discovered, he struck more fiercely than before, and smote down Sir Sagramore, and his brother Sir Gawain. "Oh, brother," said Sir Gawain, "I did not think you would have smitten me." When Sir Gareth heard him say that, he rode out of the press and cried to his dwarf, "Boy, you have played me foul, for you have kept my ring. Give it to me now, that I may hide myself." And he galloped swiftly into the forest, and no one knew where he had gone. "What shall I do next?" asked he of the dwarf. "Sir," answered the dwarf, "send the Lady Lyonesse back her ring." "Your counsel is good," said Gareth. "Take it to her, and commend me to her grace, and say I will come when I may, and bid her to be faithful to me, as I am to her." After that, Sir Gareth rode deeper into the forest. Though Sir Gareth had left the tournament, he found that there were as many fights awaiting him as if he had remained there. He overcame all his foes, and sent them and their followers to do homage to King Arthur, but he himself stayed behind. He was standing alone after they had gone, when he beheld an armed knight coming towards him. Sir Gareth sprang on his horse, and without a word, the two crashed together like thunder, and strove hard for 2 hours, till the ground was wet with blood. At that time, the damsel Lynette came riding by, and saw what was doing, and knew who were the fighters. and she cried, "Sir Gawain! Sir Gawain! Leave fighting with your brother Sir Gareth." Then he threw down his shield and sword, and ran to Sir Gareth, and first took him in his arms, and next kneeled down and asked mercy of him.
"Why do you, who were but now so strong and mighty, so suddenly yield to me?"
asked Sir Gareth, who had not perceived the damsel. "Oh, Gareth, I am your brother, and have had much sorrow for your sake." At this, Sir Gareth unlaced his helm and knelt before Sir Gawain, and they rose and embraced each other. "Ah, my fair brother," said Sir Gawain, "I ought rightly to do you homage, even if you were not my brother, for in this 12-month you have sent King Arthur more knights than any 6 of the best men of the Round Table." While they were speaking, there came the Lady Lynette and healed the wounds of Sir Gareth and of Sir Gawain. "What are you going to do now?" asked she. "It is time that King Arthur had tidings of you both, and your horses are not fit to bear you." "Ride, I pray you," said Sir Gawain, "to my uncle King Arthur, who is but 2 miles away, and tell him what adventure has befallen me." So she mounted her mule, and when she had told her tale to King Arthur, he bade them saddle him a palfrey, and invited all the knights and ladies of his court to ride with him. When they reached the place, they saw Sir Gareth and Sir Gawain sitting on the hillside. The king jumped off his horse and would have greeted them, but he swooned away for gladness, and they ran and comforted him, and also their mother. The 2 knights stayed in King Arthur's court for 8 days, and rested themselves and grew strong. Then said the king to Lynette, "I wonder that your sister, Dame Lyonesse, does not come here to visit me, or more truly, to visit my nephew, Sir Gareth, who has worked so hard to win her love." "My lord," answered Lynette, "you must, by your grace, hold her excused, for she does not know that Sir Gareth is here." "Go and fetch her, then," said Arthur. "That I will do quickly," replied Lynette. And by the next morning she had brought Dame Lyonesse and her brother Sir Gringamore and 40 knights. But among the ladies, Dame Lyonesse was the fairest, save only Queen Guinevere. They were all welcomed of King Arthur, who turned to his nephew Sir Gareth, and asked him whether he would have that lady to his wife. "My lord," replied Sir Gareth, "you know well that I love her above all the ladies in the world." "And what say you, fair lady?" asked the king. "Most noble king," said Dame Lyonesse, "I would sooner have Sir Gareth as my husband than any king or prince that may be christened, and if I may not have him, I promise you I will have none, for he is my first love, and shall be my last. And if you will suffer him to have his will and choice, I dare say he will have me." "That is truth," said Sir Gareth. "What, nephew?" cried the king. "Sits the wind in that door? Then you shall have all the help that is in my power." And so said Gareth's mother, and it was fixed that the marriage should be at Michaelmas, at Kinkenadon by the seashore. And thus it was proclaimed in all places of the realm. Then Sir Gareth sent his summons to all the knights and ladies that he had won in battle, that they should be present, and he gave a rich ring to the Lady Lyonesse, and she gave him one likewise. And before she departed, she had from King Arthur a shining golden bee as a token. After that, Sir Gareth set her on her way towards her castle, and returned unto the king. But he would ever be in Sir Lancelot's company, for there was no knight that Sir Gareth loved so well as Sir Lancelot. The days drew fast to Michaelmas, and there came the Lady Lyonesse with her sister Lynette, and her brother Sir Gringamore to King Kenadon by the sea, and they were lodged by order of King Arthur. And upon Michaelmas Day, the Bishop of Canterbury wedded Sir Gareth and the Lady Lyonesse with great ceremonies. And King Arthur commanded that Sir Gawain should be joined to the damsel Lynette, and Sir Agrawain to the niece of Dame Lyonesse, whose name was Laurel. Then the knights whom Sir Gareth had won in battle came with their followings, and did homage to him. And the Green Knight besought him that he might act as chamberlain at the feast, and the Red Knight that he might be as steward. As soon as the feast was ended, they had all manner of minstrelsy and games, and a great tournament that lasted 3 days. But at the prayer of Dame Lyonesse, the king would not suffer that any man who was wedded should fight at that feast. How Morgan le Fay tried to kill King Arthur. King Arthur had a sister called Morgan le Fay, who was skilled in magic of all sorts, and hated her brother, because he had slain in battle a knight whom she loved. The better to gain her own ends, and to revenge herself upon the king, she kept a smiling face, and let none guess the passion in her heart. One day, Morgan le Fay went to Queen Guinevere, and asked her to leave to go into the country. The queen wished her to wait till Arthur returned, but Morgan le Fay said she had had bad news and could not wait. Then the queen let her depart without delay. Early next morning, at break of day, Morgan le Fay mounted her horse, and rode all day and all night, and at noon next day reached the abbey of nuns where King Arthur had gone to rest, for he had fought a hard battle, and for 3 nights had slept but little. "Do not wake him," said Morgan le Fay, who had come there knowing she would find him. "I will rouse him myself when I think he has had enough sleep." For she thought to steal his sword Excalibur from him. The nuns dared not disobey her, so Morgan le Fay went straight into the room where King Arthur was lying fast asleep in his bed, and in his right hand was grasped his sword Excalibur. When she beheld that sight, her heart fell, for she dared not touch the sword, knowing well that if Arthur waked and saw her, she was a dead woman. So she took the scabbard and went away on horseback. When the king awoke and missed his scabbard, he was angry and asked who had been there, and the nuns told him that it was his sister, Morgan le Fay, who had gone away with the scabbard under her mantle. "Alas," said Arthur, "you have watched me badly." "Sir," said they, "we dared not disobey your sister." "Saddle the best horse that can be found," commanded the king, "and bid Sir Ontzlake take another and come with me." And they buckled on their armour and rode after Morgan le Fay. They had not gone far before they met a cowherd, and they stopped to ask if he had seen any lady riding that way. "Yes," said the cowherd. "A lady passed by here with 40 horses behind her and went into the forest yonder." Then they galloped hard till Arthur caught sight of Morgan le Fay, who looked back, and seeing that it was Arthur who gave chase, pushed on faster than before. And when she saw she could not escape him, she rode into a lake that lay in the plain on the edge of the forest, and crying out, "Whatever may befall me, my brother shall not have the scabbard." And she threw the scabbard far into the water, and it sank, for it was heavy with gold and jewels. After that, she fled into a valley full of great stones, and turned herself and her men and her horses into blocks of marble. Scarcely had she done this when the king rode up, but seeing her nowhere, thought some evil must have befallen her in vengeance of her misdeeds. He then sought high and low for the scabbard, but being unable to find it, he returned to the abbey. When Arthur was gone, Morgan le Fay turned herself and her horses and her men back into their former shapes, and said, "Now, sirs, we may go where we will." And she departed into the country of Gore, and made her towns and castles stronger than before, for she feared King Arthur greatly. Meanwhile, King Arthur had rested himself at the abbey, and afterwards he rode to Camelot, and was welcomed by his queen and all his knights. And when he told his adventures, and how Morgan le Fay sought his death, they longed to burn her for her treason. The next morning there arrived a damsel at the court, with a message from Morgan le Fay, saying that she had sent the king, her brother, a rich mantle for a gift, covered with precious stones, and begged him to receive it and to forgive her in whatever she might have offended him. The king answered little, but the mantle pleased him, and he was about to throw it over his shoulders, when the Lady of the Lake stepped forward and begged that she might speak to him in private. "What is it?" asked the king. "Say on here and fear nothing." "Sir," said the lady, "do not put on this mantle, or suffer your knights to put it on, till the bringer of it has worn it in your presence." "Your words are wise," answered the king. "I will do as you counsel me. Damsel, I desire you to put on this mantle that you have brought me, so that I may see it." "Sir," said she, "it does not become me to wear a king's garment."
"By my head," cried Arthur, "you shall wear it before I put it on my back, or on the back of any of my knights." And he signed to them to put it on her, and she fell down dead, burnt to ashes by the enchanted mantle. Then the king was filled with anger, more bitter than before, that his sister should have dealt so wickedly by him. The Passing of Merlin. Many of King Arthur's knights set out on journeys in search of adventure, and one of them, Sir Pellinore, brought a damsel of the lake to Arthur's court. And when Merlin saw her, he fell in love with her, so that he desired to be always in her company. The damsel laughed in secret at Merlin, but made use of him to tell her all she would know, and the wizard had no strength to say her nay, though he knew what would come of it. For he told King Arthur that before long he should be put into the earth, alive, for all his cunning. He likewise told the king many things that should befall him, and warned him always to keep the scabbard as well as the sword Excalibur, and foretold that both sword and scabbard should be stolen from him by a woman whom he trusted. "You will miss my counsel sorely," added Merlin, "and would give all your lands to have me back again." "But since you know what will happen," said the king, "you may surely guard against it." "No," answered Merlin, "that will not be." So he departed from the king, and the maiden followed him, whom some called Nimue, and others Vivian, and wherever she went, Merlin went also. They journeyed together to many places, both at home and across the seas, and the damsel was wearied of him, and sought by every means to be rid of him, but he would not be shaken off. At last, these two wandered back to Cornwall, and one day Merlin showed Vivian a rock, under which he said great marvels were hidden. Then Vivian put forth all her powers, and told Merlin how she longed to see the wonders beneath the stone, and in spite of all his wisdom, Merlin listened to her, and crept under the rock to bring forth the strange things that lay there. And when he was under the stone, she used the magic he had taught her, and the rock rolled over him, and buried him alive, as he had told King Arthur. But the damsel departed with joy, and thought no more of him,
now that she knew all the magic he could teach her.